Well, we welcome you back on the Empowerment Hour, Praise 107.9. And we are here in the studio with our guest, Sean Calhoun Jr. with Dreamers. And he is a motivational speaker amongst the millennials. Good morning, Sean.
Hey, good morning. How's everybody doing?
We're doing great. We're glad to have you in the studio this morning, and we're excited to hear about what you're doing with the millennials. So, just talk a little bit about Dreamers and what inspired you to do that.
Well, Dreamers, we began in 2015, and what inspired me to get into motivational speaking was in 2011, I was going into college, and I heard God say, "You are going to lead my people." So I'm like, I don't know what that means, God. So I just kept living my life in undergrad as we all do. And so
the Lord told you that?
That's what the Lord told me.
All right.
So anywho, so after that, I just continued. I didn't really know what it meant, right? I was maybe 18, 19 at the most. And so by the time I graduated undergrad, I had overcome so much adversity, the death of my mother, graduating on time, even though they kind of messed up a few things that kind of would have pushed back my graduation, and just a host of other different things. And so, and even, from employment, the amount of revenue that I was able to bring in the undergrad, and a lot of my friends were asking me, how was I doing these things and how was I doing them at such a vast rate? And, that led from private talks with my friends into saying, hey, you know what, can you come and speak to these set group of students? And then it just continued to grow to being on campuses like Florida State, Florida A&M, University of Notre Dame, and it just continued to bring traction. And so now we have over 8,000 millennials following us on social media that are, thirsty for information, and we continuously feed them.
All right. So what is it that you're seeing as far as the millennials in what they're thirsty for? Like, what is it that the millennials are needing or that they're drawing from you in order to, continue to move
Are they voting? That's what I want to know.
Well, we all know that the millennial vote has an area of opportunity what we need to increase, right? I think that's something to identify. However, outside of that, when it comes to what they're thirsty for, it's more so information, right? And I would say we, because I'm a millennial as well. I'm only 26 years old. And so being a millennial, we thirst for information. And so historically, information has been hidden, or it hasn't been always as transparent. And so unfortunately, with the information burst, whether it's good or bad information, millennials, we will go towards it. And so what I provide for us as millennials is information that we can use and give us actionable items that we can actually use to better our life, get closer to success, overcome adversity. Because, how many times grandma said, oh, you too young to have your nerves worked, or, baby, just keep living, you'll get through it. And, yes, grandmother, that sounds wonderful, but I still have these problems that I'm trying to make it through, whether it be trying to graduate on time, finding who I am within myself, what's my purpose exactly.
So I look in the paper this morning, and according to the Times Union, we've had 80 murders.
Wow. In
Jacksonville, and we know it's a little over 100. Some of those have not been classified as murders. In other words, we've had, over 100 people killed.
Yes, sir.
So, and of course, just recently, this week, City Council President recommends members for Task Force on Safety and Crime Reduction, and I was included as one of the members that would join the task force. We have our work cut out for us in terms of trying to find solutions for the myriad of crime situations that we find ourselves in. But I think this is a great start, because at least people will come together and as a community, including law enforcement and others, be able to work out some situations. So how do you see millennials dealing with the crime situation? Do you see that as a problem? Do you have some answers for us as we look at this task force?
Absolutely.
From a millennial perspective?
Absolutely. As a millennial and as a young black man that has emerged from poverty, I understand how crime can affect us or affect us directly and indirectly. And so one of the first things is information and resources. When we have a lack of information, the decisions that we make are substantially, it's a substantial difference between the person that does have the information. And in addition to that, when it comes to the resources, you know, if you think, because I grew up in Paxton, right? Right on 2922 West 6th Street. That's where I grew up at. I went to Paxton Middle as well. And so, you know, in the summertime, it was nothing to do. You know, so if it's nothing to do, then I go and get into trouble, right? Because it's not the community centers that are there as they once were before. Even if we start thinking about the young millennial mothers, the young millennial fathers, if you have to resort to crime, it's because of the lack of resources. So when we put more resources in the community, when we show you how to build your resume, when we show you how to go into that interview and actually kill the interview in a positive light, actually do well, right? That perpetuates the success of not only just, you know, the millennials, but as the community as a whole. So, you know, if we don't have the information and we don't have the resources, we cannot expect to have a betterment. A lot of times we just pacify it by just giving things that don't correct the behavior and that don't correct the thinking process. So we have to continuously feed the mind so that way we can get better.
And we do have a guest speaker, Sean Calhoun with Dreamers. And we've been talking about, you know, what inspired him to be a motivational speaker amongst the millennials and some of the challenges that the millennials had. And we know that you have come through, Sean, the Urban Leagues program, Young Professionals. So can you share a little bit about, you know, what connected you with the Urban League and how what you do aligns with the Urban League?
So going back to when we were talking about resources, I relocated back to Jacksonville about a year and a half ago. And so after the death of my mother, because I relocated to Memphis. And so when I came back, like I said, I'm a young kid from Paxton, right? I don't know any professionals. All my professional buddies don't do professional. So, you know,
well.
Right, you know, hey, we all got a pass. Amen, amen. So from that perspective, I said, I need to find some people to connect with. And so my brother, Jeremy Calhoun with STS Enterprise, he actually said, you ever heard of the Urban League of Jacksonville, Young Professionals? I said, I heard of them, but I don't know where to find them. So he said, you know, I found their Facebook page. And so he sent me the information, and I went to Empower Hour, which happens the Thursday before the Tuesday on the meeting on Second Tuesday at 6. So I went out to Empower Hour, and Dante was there, and another member was there as well. And I would say, hey, man, I'm Sean Calhoun Jr. I'm trying to connect with some professors. They say, hey, man, come to the meeting on Tuesday. And so the energy was just so amazing. And just the professionalism, you know, the transparency, the relatability. And so I immediately said, this is a group that I have to connect with because these are like-minded people. You know, iron sharpens iron. And I definitely found them to be people of iron, people of substance, right? And so I'm definitely a proud member of the Jacksonville Urban League Young Professionals. And I'm also I'm excited about it. You know, it's probably one of the happiest things that I do just in the community. We do so many things. Even on Thanksgiving, they were out feeding homeless and things of that sort. So, wonderful organization. I love being a part of the Urban League.
That's wonderful. Okay, so in recent months, fans haven't seen you much in the media. So, is there a reason for that? And are you still traveling as a motivational speaker? Are you still doing that?
Yes, ma'am. I'm still traveling. I'm speaking right at probably about twice a month. So, as far as why I've been going or what I've been doing, it's been more so to restructure my business. A lot of times as millennials, we go to social media and we build our business around social media versus building social media around our business. So I had to do some house clearing, right? I had to go and get some things reorganized and just redirect and reposition.
So you suggest you do what?
You should build your social media around your business, because if not, then you're giving a false pretense of actually who you are. And so a lot of times you'll see people on social media and then you meet them in person, you're like, you are not that person. You know, so many filters going on, and what happens is people begin to filter who they are, and they're not actually giving that true representation of what they stand for and what their business means.
So they're fake.
Fake news.
Fake.
What's it? Yeah, I guess that's
what we like to say, flogging. Flogging. They be flogging.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
hey, Larry, did you hear that? You learned a new word. Look it up, man.
Listen, then even the newer millennials may say flexing. So, you know, some people are flexing on the gram, but some people are flogging. Either or. We try to be as transparent as we can.
Yeah, we need to be transparent and authentic, and not post some, put something out there that doesn't represent who you are or what your business represents. So,
Larry, did you need to chime in?
Transparency is something you definitely have. So you're headed in the right direction. You know, millennials want a level of transparency, and I know just knowing you that you're like that with your grandchildren. So maybe they'll come around. Maybe they'll listen at some point. Okay.
Intergenerational connectivity.
I like
Wow,
that.
is that-
Generational connectivity.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I like it.
You like that?
I like
Yeah, we
that.
all
We'll
have to be
coin
with
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Intergenerational connectivity.
I
Love it.
like that, Larry.
See how I regurgitate that? We millennials listen. We listen.
So, Sean, what are some of the most common challenges or reason millennials are coming to you for support or encouragement, so to speak? What are maybe some common reasons that they quote unquote fail? You know, because failure is a part of life. I mean, we can't look at it as a negative. That's how we grow.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you seeing just in your experience?
I've been seeing a lot of things to do with application.
Okay.
Application.
And application, not the apps on your phone, but the things that you actually go out and do, right?
Right.
And so from that perspective, we'll get the information, but we won't apply it, or we'll use partial of it. You know,
Oh, Shaman can talk about, people getting services, they come to
Yes.
the therapist
Yes.
and ask for help, and then they won't take
And they want to apply. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
application will get. They'll have the knowledge, but the application part is where you're going to see the change in the child's behavior.
That's right.
Or a skill develop and grow. But we see a lot of parents and even daycare workers, wherever the child is, they don't apply it.
Right.
But they know.
And the reason that is because we don't familiarize ourselves enough with the information, right? So every morning and every night, I write down my 4-year plan. I know it by heart. And the reason why I do that, because the Bible says, whatever man thinketh, so is he. And you can only think about the things that you familiarize yourself with. So if we don't familiarize ourselves with the information, it's very hard to apply it. So when I talk to a millennial like myself or anybody else, I always ask, what's the plan? What's the goal? And that also goes into the second portion, right? Because it's multi-layered. So application is the big point, but when you go into the multi-layers of it, it's going to be how often you're familiarizing yourself with the information, and also planning, right? Because if we don't plan, old thing says we plan to fail, right? I was talking to one of my buddies, and I was saying, it's very amazing to me that we look up to these big companies that plan their year out around this time of the year, but we only plan a day or our week by week. They had their sales forecasting already done for 2019. Right. So if I want to be a millionaire by 35, I want to be this great mogul or this, this person that's internationally known, I have to start adopting these same business practices, and I have to treat myself like a business, because that allows me to be disciplined, which also perpetuates the application, which also perpetuates the planning, which also perpetuates being more aware of the information that I'm surrounding myself with.